Welcome everyone to the October 2025 CentOS board meeting. We do have quorum, so just barely. We do have some people who let us know they are out either due to travel or personal reasons. We have a pretty short agenda, so this shouldn't take more than a half an hour is my best guess. The first item on the agenda is the GitLab open source renewal. I have included a link toward our licensing policy. Sean, do you want to speak on this first?
Yes. So we have to renew the, we have a grant basically from GitLab that gives us the enterprisey features for free under the open source program that they have. As does Fedora, incidentally, and both of them expired at roughly the same time. They have to be renewed yearly. And so I just did the process of renewing both the Fedora and the GitLab. I'm sorry, it got to the point where people were seeing notices and getting scared, but they've both been taken care of. There were some complications because there were things where we weren't quite in compliance, and GitLab is very nice to us. Like they're very permissive on some of these things. But I had to get like a human involved to allow it because they have like an automated scanner that didn't know to be nice to us, I guess. So it's taken care of now, and it'll be, next year we'll go through it again and hopefully a lot more easily. What I do want to bring up though is basically the big thing with doing the CentOS renewal is that they do the process for it does like this automated license check to make sure that all of your projects under your namespace are open source. And it flagged a ton of ours. I put them in a HackMD. And as I said, I basically got a code from GitLab to circumvent that, but we need to find a solution so that next year I don't have to like ask for a code. And the issue is basically their scanner really like it looks for license files, and we don't, as a general practice, put license files in our like our distgit repositories. Neither does RHEL, neither does Fedora. So it really does not make sense for us to put them in. Like if we just stuck them into our repositories, we would just create merge headaches with everything that we pull from and push to and everything. So and clearly our stuff is open source. We do have a blanket policy of MIT that applies to all of our stuff. And so I have a to-do item for myself to like figure out how we can convince GitLab's automated scanner that all of this stuff is okay if there's other ways to mark the license or something short of putting these license files into the repositories. So we have a year to figure it out. If anybody else has ever played with this stuff in GitLab, I'm happy to hear suggestions. But it is something that we really ought to take care of and before the next renewal comes around.
All right. One thing I had on this as a subtopic for this was the contributor agreement, because we thought that might be related to Fedora getting through and CentOS not being automatically approved. Has that been addressed? Do we need to address that?
I don't think that was an issue.
Okay.
Fedora did not have any of the projects flagged due to license issues. Fedora had some stuff flagged due to having a few. You're only supposed to have one non-public project, and Fedora had a few. And that was really less of an issue. But yeah, the contributor agreement I don't think was because Fedora also has a blanket, blanket license policy, but they make you sign a contributor agreement to agree to it, which is, I guess, a nice thing to do. But in terms of what the GitLab scanner is looking for, I don't think it knows about, checking fast that people have signed a contributor agreement or anything like that. So.
Okay, good enough. Neil?
Yeah, so like the big difference is that Fedora doesn't do any dist-git-like stuff in GitLab, and as a result, and all the traditional projects that Fedora has, like the websites and any READMEs or project management stuff, they will have license files checked in because we do that anyway as a matter of course. So the core difference is that because CentOS SIGs are putting their dist-git content in GitLab.com, that's where this is starting to fall apart. Everything else that we do already kind of follows normal practices and stuff like that. But it might be worth asking them if they have some kind of way to add, like to support a repo that's like a .file type repo, like a .profile or whatever, that could then be scanned to represent a group and its subgroups or whatever. And if that's the case, then what we can do as a matter of policy is every like dist-git style, every set of source repos that are dist-git repos must be inside of a group that must also include this extra repo, and GitLab Scanner can flag it to know this accordingly.
That would be a very good solution, and I'll investigate if their license scanner can read such a thing, or maybe can be modified to read such a thing. Maybe it's something
Most likely the latter, because I don't think this has ever come up before. Certainly hadn't come up when I used to work with GitLab.
Thank you for that information, Neil. It gives us a course of action to take. Is there any other questions or discussion on this topic? Pat, I'm assuming that's you typing.
Yes, that's me typing.
Okay. I will wait till you finish your train of thought before we continue, being that it's your topic.
Okay.
All right. So the next topic was added by Pat. The question of inviting Scott McCarty to chat about RHEL 11. I do know from the Freckle meetings he is more than welcome, more than happy to do that, I should say. But do you want to address this, Pat?
Yeah. So in our big picture leadership meeting room thing, Scott came by and talked to us about how the RHEL 11 team is starting to form inside of Red Hat. And this is an exciting time. And if we want to embrace our community first mindset for things, when do we want to drag that information into a CentOS space to talk about what we think as a community CentOS Stream 11 might look like? As a significant bit of this is driven by Red Hat's business needs for what RHEL 11 has to look like. And so getting too early in the process is effectively a waste of everyone's time, because if Red Hat hasn't formed what their minimum behavior threshold is, there's no reason for us to talk about the things that we want to see in stream. But if we wait too long, we get into at the end of the tail and it starts to become more of a, well, golly gee, that would be easy to do in 12. And so to try and find when the right time is for us to reach out to the CentOS community and say, okay, we have this kind of scaffolding. You can paint it these 10 colors. What colors do you like? Because it will become a bike shedding problem almost instantly. And
Now,
so, yeah.
I just typed this in. Scott did present to Freckle about a month ago now, and that was recorded. I don't know if it's been posted anywhere. We've talked about putting it up potentially on our YouTube. But as you're talking about this, and I'm pretty sure Scott would love a reason to come, what does everyone think about timing of CentOS Connect?
As in he'll be there in person?
That's what I'm thinking. If I think he'd like an excuse to come. We could put it out there.
It's probably a good idea, right? Like,
I'm just thinking timeline-wise.
No, timeline-wise, it makes sense, because if CentOS Connect the year after would be too late, because at that point, they will have already started forking Fedora to become CentOS Stream 11. You want that before that happens, not after.
All right, hang on.
Sorry,
Thank
that's
you.
me.
Thank you for raising your hand. Bad Neil. Go ahead, Troy.
I would say within the next 6 months. So I think CentOS Connect would be an ideal time. That time frame would be an ideal time.
Okay, good to know. Mike?
I just wanted to say I agree with the rough timescale everybody's saying, but also I want to say another litmus test for this is whether or not we can offer something meaningfully different from ELN at that point. And not just ELN with different names.
Offer something other than ELN.
Meaningfully different. Because I think, you know, when they first fork, I mean, like ELN is at a constant state of forking Fedora to make something that looks like RHEL, right? So that they're ready when they need to actually do that. So on day one of them forking RHEL, it's going to look a lot like ELN, I think. So I think that would maybe be the earliest I'd consider doing that, but also, you know, it might be good to wait a bit before we, you know, publish anything that looks like CentOS Stream 11. Maybe I'm just completely off base here, but that's my thought here. So.
Not switching. Okay, Sean.
First of all, I'll ask the question of if we need an in-person thing. Obviously, an in-person thing will exclude somebody. Like, not everybody's going to be there in person. It may be that in person can be one component of the conversations, but we can have more conversations virtually to be more inclusive of people. But if Scott is interested in meeting people in person, I think that should be something we should take advantage of. And if we can get him to CentOS Connect, right? I love getting more attendees to CentOS Connect. It inflates my ego. Is Flock maybe worth considering?
I think it'll depend on timeline myself. But if we get the video up on YouTube, the one from Freckle, I think that's a good start. And then perhaps get him to speak at Connect. And then depending on what the timeline is, if he can get to Prod 2, I think that's a great idea as well. I know it affects us a little more than Fedora, but at the same time, I think his viewpoint brings a lot to the table. If that makes sense. And Neil's typed in, both make sense. So, switching back to the other window. Any other thoughts on this?
So I'd like to end with some type of concrete plan for, like, we will X.
I think step one is we will get the video from a few weeks ago up.
That sounds fantastic.
And then we can ask when the CFP becomes open if he'd like to submit for it. Does that sound like a plan?
I love it.
Okay. You got a heart. All right, in the chat, go ahead, Sean.
I want to check if that's an action item on me. We had kind of discussed a little bit in the board channel the videos from the Freckle meetings, and I decided not to generally publish them widely. Not that they're a secret, but not to, like, I don't know, make a big spectacle out of them. Do you want me to publish that one somewhere? And if so, do you want me to kind of edit it down to where it's just his presentation?
Yeah.
Or is this me at all?
my assumption was that was like one of the very few things that was going to be recorded. I know Brendan's been recording more of them, but but my understanding was just Scott's presentation was going to be recorded. So I don't have an issue of us making sure that it's a clean video without all of us, just BSing around. But yeah, my assumption, besides the fact that Brendan does put out the notes of everything, for the most part, I didn't think we were recording everything. Pat, go ahead.
Another thing I would probably want to check is just to make sure that the content of that video was intended for wide publication. Scott might want to do a different, like same slides, but a different verbal behavior.
Okay.
Just depending on where the audience lands.
Sean?
So if he wants it to be presented differently, we had discussed CentOS showcase 3 times a year, and one would land in November if we did that. And he could present anew. That would mean it would delay the process here until we do a CentOS showcase. But that's an option if he wants to create a presentation that's better for wider consumption.
And we're not that far off in November, to be honest with you.
Yeah, which means I should probably actually do maybe we should talk about that in the community
Promo
architect
meeting?
website.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right. We will move that either further down the agenda or to the promo team. All right. Anything
Well,
else?
I'll take an action item to talk to Scott and see what he wants to do in terms of circulating this information. How's that?
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Let me switch back over. All right. In the chat, I have placed the link to the very work in process. Now I can't even find my own tab. There we go. The AI policy work in progress. Basically, this was the notes we've had from the 2 meetings where we discussed it, and me taking the notes and making them into complete sentences with a little bit of a flow. Below the key points, I did cut and paste in what was in the board meetings, so folks know where I was coming from. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to read through this yet. And then, of course, we know that Fedora Council discussed this today as well. I think we're getting closer to actually being more in line with them. And if that becomes the case, we can probably share wording, similar to what we do with the code of conduct and other things, where we're aligned with them. Their original version did talk about the use of AI on top of the software. That was something we did not want in our policy. So that's why we're going a different route at first. And I'm going to switch back. Actually, I'm going to take this and put it closer to the meeting so I can switch back and forth easier. All right. Let me know when y'all have kind of looked at it, and then we can discuss. Or just start raising hands. 1 second. Go ahead, Pat.
So the big thing on that's sort of the forefront of my mind on this is that if users need to disclose their AI usage, if we block things based on the fact that they disclosed that they were AI, effectively we're incentivizing non-disclosure. That's a thing that comes up a couple times in the Fedora chat on this and that we discussed in the past. But that disclosure is going to become increasingly important for us, as I'm seeing an increased number of folks asking for software bill of materials for various things floating around at my day job. I expect that more and more types and kinds of disclosure are going to become bigger and better.
I will say we have not had the issue of people not being willing to disclose an open infra, an OpenStack. It's just really for the licensing and knowing where it came from. Let me go ahead to Sean and then Troy.
I think Fedora, disclaimer, this is secondhand information. I wasn't in the council meeting and I haven't read the latest stuff, but I think they were leaning towards a strong should on using tags and disclosing, but not a must to use RFC language, just as a point of information.
Okay, Troy.
I wasn't seeing where Pat was seeing where we're blocking on this. To me, it doesn't look like we're blocking. We're just saying that if I'm reading it right, the person submitting it, because an AI cannot submit, but the person submitting it can use AI, but they have to. Well, you're right. It's saying half instead of should. Is that where you're saying it's blocking? Is because we're saying they have to?
Yes.
Okay.
And because it's sort of an unfinished policy, I don't want to accidentally add something that is at cross purposes with our goal.
Okay.
Would take I'm rereading. I'll even have a typo and none of you caught that.
Yeah, I think instead of would tag, should tag.
Okay.
Is that where the word that you were having a problem with, Pat?
Yes.
Okay. And keep in mind, even after we're happy with it, I'm pretty sure this will need to go to legal and everybody else under the sun. So,
Other than that, it looks okay by me.
what is everyone else thinking here? Go ahead, Pat.
Neil has some useful stuff in the chat, and so I was going to make him read it.
Fine. So the latest draft has a must for some circumstances that you must disclose the use of AI tools when a significant part of the contribution is essentially from the tool unchanged. But also, I want to point out that a CentOS AI policy is not likely to be enforceable unless Red Hat decides that it's going to be something that they're going to bind RHEL contributions to. So a lot of this is not meaningful because especially with realistically, like a lot of the SIGs are shadow Red Hat product people. And so like even from the SIG point of view, it's not meaningful either. So unless this is something that Red Hat is willing to bind their product development to, it's not meaningful. Now, if it turns out that this is something that they're okay to bind themselves to, then that's great. But like I would caution ourselves of thinking that this policy that we would have for CentOS is going to have a meaningful impact on the project because we don't actually control our project.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we want something that we're happy with, and then we will go to legal and RHEL to make sure everybody's happy with it. if we can even do it. Sean made the point of SIGs. You've made the counter that some of the SIGs are red hatters, but it all depends on what the SIG is for. I mean, if it's something that's going into RHEL, that might be different than something that is just something they're doing on the side. And where you typed in transparency, you must disclose the use of it when it's mainly. That is where the generated by tag comes into play versus the assisted by. Assisted by could just be, oh, it changed 3 lines of my code because I had misconfigured it. Generated by, yes, I kind of took it out of AI. So that's where that difference is. So we're kind of doing the same thing, but using different codes to tags to specify that, if that makes sense. Go ahead, Sean.
Also worth noting that we do have SIGs that don't aren't red hatty, like Kmods and hyperscale. But it's worth noting that they frequently the stuff they're doing is backporting Fedora stuff onto CentOS, and so we need to be compatible with Fedora in that case, because right, like if Fedora will take a contribution that we're telling our SIGs they can't accept, that would be pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because there are upstream stuff is going to come through them. And maybe someone who looks at the code more than I do. And when we bring stuff in for Fedora, are the commits and stuff present or no longer there? Okay, this is something we should probably look at. Because if we're getting things in, like a patch that came through Fedora that is tagged, I think it's important for our end users to be able to see that tag, the attribution, as Davida likes to say, of where it came from. So that is something we should probably keep an eye on as well. But I feel in regards to Fedora, we are now writing something very similar to what they are writing. Or I should say they are now writing something very similar to what we started. So I think it'll be really super easy to align. And it might be a case that by the time they're done and we're done, we use the same thing and swap out Fedora and CentOS like we do with the COC. And then make any slight minor changes that we require. Anything else on the topic in the work in progress? Because it truly is a work in progress. So our next item of business then is ticket number 158, opened up by our very young Troy. Troy, do you want to address this?
Yeah. After reading the ticket, I noticed there's 2 main issues with this. The first, if you look at the ticket number, it's a request for Casual Penguins to sell CentOS branded shirts. But as you start reading it, our current trademark guidelines do not say, outside of books, it says stuff about books. But non-software and non-website related stuff is, well, it's just not there. And so 2 things. First, and this is me stepping off the board, hey, I would like on behalf of CentOS Casual Penguins to be able to sell shirts. And then stepping back on the board, hey, our trademark guidelines do not have things with regards to shirts or swag or things like that. People or companies being able to sell those uh, whether approved or unapproved. I'm not reading anything in those guidelines.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Sean, isn't there a website that does sell stuff? That
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have
the
taken a bite of food. Hello text, we allow to, yes. But it's an agreement. So, I mean, if you guys want to overhaul and just give some sort of blanket policy for clothing, that's cool. We can go through that. But we can also just give one-off agreements like we do for Hello text.
Okay. How do we go? How do we do an agreement like that? And this is okay. I'm stepping off the board. This is stepping in as casual penguins. How would we do an agreement like that? Wait.
Open a board ticket, maybe.
Well, that was why I did this.
It's a board ticket,
issue.
and then you're done.
Yeah, I didn't negotiate the Hello text. That would have been Rich era. Or maybe before Rich. I'm not sure how far that goes back. We don't take royalties or anything. We just kind of have said it's okay. I don't know if we need a contract, or maybe we just need to say it's okay.
go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I definitely, I just wanted to say I would vote for keeping the trademarks, more or less under our control, and doing one-offs like we have. I think if you let this cat out of the bag, it could be very tricky if somebody started producing really weird content.
I do agree. And that's why I wanted to bring it to the board, because I don't know how we feel about random stuff with our logo on it. Actually, I'm pretty sure I know how we feel about it, that we don't want random stuff with our logo on it. And if it is entering into agreement with us, then that's fine.
So I'm seeing kind of two things here based on this idea. We should probably involve legal and update that page with correctly worded information to say that for things not listed here, please open up a board ticket to discuss further, and also mention in that wording specific agreements can be made based on an individual basis. I think we can list some examples of things that we would probably approve that that are worthwhile for you applying for that agreement. And maybe also say we have final say, approval on what's being produced. So, someone doesn't do something inappropriate, but they have the agreement. If we have to sign off on it before they can actually produce it, that might help with that. Sean?
Do we want to just explicitly list in our wherever the heck we put this information, like the agreements that not the details, but like we have an agreement with Hello Tux and with Casual Penguins, pending whatever. Because it's not a secret. We're talking about it right now in a publicly recorded meeting. But do we want to just list those things there, or keep it kind of like, you got to go discover, if you want to find out?
No, I think we can list them.
Okay.
And we can list possible items that you could possibly get an agreement on. But I kind of like the idea, because Mike's now got me a little scared that, maybe we need a little approval process like I do when I make any t-shirts or stickers, just an approval that, hey, this is right. Okay, you can proceed. That type of idea, just to make sure no one does anything after getting an agreement that is inappropriate. Go ahead, Mike.
I wouldn't want to put like any sort of exhaustive approval guidelines out there because I feel like it's always going to be a bit of a judgment call. The real question is to what extent we can make the judgment call versus to what extent do we have to go check with Red Hat, or actually owns the trademarks that we we are sort of managing. But also, it's kind of a given if somebody owns a trademark that you are supposed to ask them to use the trademark and get permission to use the trademark, and it's kind of the having a policy that allows you to use it in certain situations like we have is kind of the exception, not the rule. So if the exception doesn't cover your case, then obviously you have to. I mean, it goes without saying they need to contact the owner of the trademark if that doesn't cover them.
Go ahead, Troy.
Just you guys probably know, but just for the recording, you definitely have to go through legal to do Casual Penguins because me being a representative and working for Red Hat is considered a conflict of interest. But I've already done that through Fedora, so me and legal knows the forms we're going to have to do. But for those here that don't know, I'm looking at the recording that don't know that I'm an employee of Red Hat. Yes, it can be considered a conflict of interest, and I have rules that I have to go by. So just wanted to state that.
Thank you for your transparency. Is there anything else on this topic? All right, we are at the 15-minute mark, just to let everyone know. Sean, is there anything you wanted to cover on the updates?
I had nothing, but we did, the idea of a CentOS showcase came up. So I'll just ask if anyone has opinions between November 3rd, 10th, and 17th. Those are the Mondays. We are not doing the 24th. That's the Monday before US Thanksgiving. And many people will be out, including me. So we can make the final decision in the promo channel, but if anybody has.
The 10th is KubeCon.
10th is KubeCon. That's very good information.
Yeah, and I'll be away on vacation, far away from here in a sunny place on the 10th.
Good.
Okay, so we're looking at the 3rd or the 17th, and we'll follow up with that in the promo channel.
Great.
Do you have anything else?
I think that's all I have. Connect is we're just waiting on procurement, but we're ready. I've already told you guys it's happening. We know the dates. So as soon as procurement goes whatever, then we publish website and announce.
And I've already tested the registration. Troy?
Yeah.
Is there a public? Did you send out anything saying that the call for papers is open? I know it's open.
The call for papers is technically open, but I've not published. So I put up a page on the staging server and posted that link in, I think, the board channel maybe, or the promo channel. I don't remember. And that page, like on the staging server, has links to the call for papers and the registration, which are both live and functional. So I just haven't published to main website and made noise about it. But it is all open and you can submit to the CFP.
So he has said that publicly.
It's now public. Yeah.
If you can
You just
get
have
to
to find
the
the
staging
staging
server.
server. Yeah. It's not that hard to find. You just have to do a little bit of internet sleuthing.
All right. Does anyone else have any topics for the recording? All right. I am going to kill the recording.